everybody. Yes, greetings, everybody. This is Harmony speaking, and we're on the ride home. Today's topic is going to be NPC, non-player characters, backdrop people, and hollow people. So let's get going on. Basically, have to admit, I'm a bit creeped out about this topic. It's something, I was aware of Dolores Cannon, and she talked about backdoor people, but she didn't describe them as, real biological living, pooping, eating, people take showers, go to work, kind of people. She kind of, example I remember she gave is, you're in an airport and it'll be really crowded, and a lot of those people may not be real people, they're just backdrop people. And so that was kind of, I was like, cool, I get that, I'm cool with that. It goes along with things I've known in the past. It made sense to me. But then a couple weeks ago I had a QHHT client. For those of you who know, I'm a quantum healing hypnosis therapy practitioner, so I had a client start talking about how there are people who are living, breathing people like you and me that don't have souls. And then, of course, a client of mine heard the video, and when he came to see me this last weekend, one of his questions was about hollow people. That you come to the session with at least 10 to 20 questions, preferably 20 questions you want to ask your higher self, and that was one of the questions. And before the session, before the hypnosis session began, during the interview process where we talk and get to know each other and go over the questions and what they want to do, he told me the story about he's talking to somebody about the Bible, and this person said, oh well, there's things in the Bible that will lead you astray from God. And I'm like, what? Huh? That doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, during the session, the question was, does he work with hollow people? And I was just blown away at how many hollow people this person works with. Blew my mind away. And then he asked, and then specifically the person who told him about the Bible, there's parts that'll lead you astray. This person's higher self said, that person's a hollow person. So then it became clear to me, as a hollow person, and I mentioned in previous videos, the AI could tap into our minds like Wi-Fi. It doesn't need to program us through the TV and radio anymore. It just has, it's doing the purpose of the chemtrails have many purposes, but one of them is to create a Wi-Fi for the AI to, download information and pull information, read our minds, whatever. So it became clear that, the higher self went on to say about how these hollow people, unknowingly or knowingly, whatever, we didn't get into the exact if they know or don't know, but basically the higher self said that, the AI, downloads thoughts in these people to get them to mess with people like you and me that are benevolent beings, that have souls, that want to do, God's wood, that, well, we're service to others, type of thing. We want to help humanity. So, besides this system we live in, this government, the money magic system, and on and on and on, how you get up and go to work every day, and it's just a beatdown. But on top of that, now I'm being made aware of through two different sessions, two different higher self, two people talking to higher selves, that there's people walking around, biological people, real people. They're born, they came out of a mother's womb, in a hospital or whatever. They're real people, but they don't have souls, and because they don't have souls, the AI can tap into them and use them to manipulate this reality. It almost sounds like it's the AI's robots, and just nuts. I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's really just, it's over the top, people. That's over the top. I just can't believe it. Well, I mean, I do believe it, but it's still sinking in because this is brand spanking new information for me as of 2 weeks ago. First time I heard it. And I heard it again this weekend. I'll probably hear it again. You know, clients are probably going to be asking, wanting to know about that. I know I'm going to ask that in my session. I finally found someone, believe it or not, I'm broke. I can't afford my own session. It's kind of funny. Because, anyway, long story. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was going to tell this story. So, I'm at work today, and they were talking about this guy who was given, the owner said, you know, you got 2 weeks or I'm going to fire you. Go look for a job. Feel free to leave the office to go interview. You know, you got 2 weeks and then you're out of here. And, you know, they're talking like, you know, basically the way the conversation went, I said, well, you know, in our field, it's really, really hard to find a job right now. This is the first quarter, and they, you know, in my business, they don't do hiring in the first quarter. And you know, I'm like, this, you know, the guy may be fired. And then this person said, well, if they get fired, then they can't collect unemployment. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know? He goes, well, the person has been written up for not selling enough. And if you get written up 3 times, you don't get to collect unemployment. I go, well, that's only for things that are your fault. If you get fired and it's not your fault, then you collect unemployment. And I'm in Texas, by the way. I apologize, it's so dark here, but it gets lighter as we get closer to light. So anyway, you know, and I was like, but not being able to sell is not your fault. He goes, well, yeah, it is, because you have a contract. And this person started getting like angry at me. It's because he signed a contract and he's not fulfilling his obligation under the contract. And he's been written up, and therefore he won't be able to collect unemployment because it's like breach of contract is what he was saying. And I'm like, basically like, that's not true. And then this other person chimed in who only talks about things. She's one of those show me, I want the proof. Where did you hear that from? I want to see it in writing kind of thing. And I just know this person doesn't know. I don't think this person knows a lot about unemployment. Maybe they do. I could be wrong. But anyway, so this person starts jumping in, and this person starts raising their voice. And I work with these people. They're not the type of people that like to raise their voices and start like they're basically, the tone of voice and how loud it was. They were basically really, really pissed off, yelling at me, trying to convince me that this person wouldn't collect unemployment. And I just kind of let it go. And then the person, because I let it go, then the person started up again and said, oh, and by the way, even if you could collect unemployment, you can't, they changed the law. He said they changed the law to where you can't collect it, you don't get your first check for 6 weeks. Besides the 1 week waiting period where you don't get paid, now you don't get your check for 6 weeks. And then the other person jumped in, yeah, that's right. And they're like, they're yelling at me. They're pissed off, yelling at me. And I'm like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Why are these people getting so pissed off and angry? And if you haven't heard my previous situation, I told you a couple months ago, I'm looking at losing my job, folks. Because in my industry, the products we sell through the companies that we sell them through, they dropped the sales commissions in half. And not only in half, I get residuals, and all my residuals are in half. So let's say I don't have a $100,000 book of business, but just for simplicity, let's say I have a $100,000 book of business, you know, I have $100,000 commissions coming in, like that, overnight, that entire book of business dropped to $50,000 in half, and any new business, I make half as much as I used to. And the owner of the company did this. I don't care if the company's dropped commissions by half. That's not my fault. I'm like, it's not my fault. He goes, no, it's not your fault, but I'm firing you. I'm going to fire you if you don't get out there and start producing. And I'm like, dude, business is exactly the way it was, even after the drop. I increased sales by 50% by some freaking miracle. So we're right where we were before. I'm like, you should be congratulating me, give me high fives, saying thank you. I go, one of the companies was in here last week, said I was the #1 salesman in our distribution channel. And my boss sat there and goes, you're lying, that can't be true. And basically just insulted these reps from this company and called them a liar. And he's like, it can't be true. And they had to convince him that was the #1 agent for that particular distribution channel line of business. It's not really that big of a deal. Might sound big, but it's really not. What further goes to say, since it's really not that big of a deal, because it's not a high volume, that distribution channel is not high volume, the boss could just say, hey, great. Or how about congratulations, Byron? No. He just, instead of saying congratulations, I mean, how many... He's been in business for 20 years, and not once in 20 years has a department increased its sales by 50%. I have a 50% increase in sales, and now because we're even, and because he demands a 10% increase every year, so he's saying that I'm behind because he doesn't measure sales, he doesn't measure volume, he measures money. How much money is coming into the company, and that's all he cares about. So I'm being under threat of being fired. But apparently he doesn't fire people either. It's kind of weird. He tells you to leave. And he told me to leave. Told me to go find another job, but not in the manner that he told this other person. So that's why I was telling people, I'm looking at being freaking homeless. I don't have enough QHHC clients to sustain enough to pay rent. Hence why I don't buy a new computer. In case I can't make videos. I can only go live. And if you saw what happened last night, I went live twice, and freaking AI or somebody, whatever, the live stream died. It kept broadcasting, but it killed my connection to it. It was kind of interesting. I found that fascinating. I'm going to try and make that video again tonight. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so the point is, these people know my situation, and they're well aware of my situation, and it's like they were messing with me, and then immediately the AI or demons or evil spirits, or I don't care, aliens, whatever, put bad thoughts in my head, and just horrific, horrible thoughts just came flooding into me, and I'm gonna be homeless, living on the streets, and I got a dog and a cat that I love. I mean, they're my, they're my children. They're not pets. And I've had my cat for 12 years, and I've had my dog for 5 or 6 years, long time. And everybody loves my dog. My cat's kind of a loner, independent person. But anyway, so I gathered my thoughts, and I pulled up the internet, and the law hadn't changed. I'm looking right at the Texas workforce website. I'm reading the source. The source says that if you get laid off or fired, unless it's for misconduct, you can collect unemployment. Keyword, misconduct. What's misconduct? That means you maliciously did something wrong. Simply not being able to sell that's not misconduct. So if you get fired, and actually, when I read on, it actually meets the legal definition of being laid off, because there's not enough business to keep you employed. So it kind of falls in that laid off. Anyway, the bottom line is they completely lied about that. And they're screaming at me, adamant, trying to convince me that you can't collect unemployment in my situation or this other person's situation. They lied to me, saying it takes 6 weeks to get a check. It doesn't. It says it's the usual 3 to 4 weeks to process, because it's a government institution. Government takes forever to do stuff. I need to get over here. I'm about to wrap this up. I gotta run into the store here. So, so these people just flat out lied to me on purpose. And I had some suspicions, not both of them, but one of them, I was pretty convinced he's a I used to call him insiders, because they don't act human, and they act like they're in the know, and they say things around me, and they drop tidbits information, and they do things that are proof positive. They're not normal humans. They are in the know. What I didn't know is they're in the know because they're freaking hollow, and and it's the AI that's in the know, and it's the AI that's tapped into them, giving them this information and having them do and say things and whatnot. And I'm like, so now I always knew it. I always knew, and I had people work with me that were, you know, effing with me to make my life more miserable because they know who I am. But now I understand why. I always wondered how did they do it? You know, because these, you know, if you're an insider, usually you know, you're working for a government, you're doing black op projects, and you're not sitting in a regular office, and that just perplexed me, you know. But now it makes sense, you know. That's why there's so many insiders, or people appear to be insiders walking around, is because they're hollow people, and the AI's tapped into them, and they're screwing with us, you know. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely, completely, it's insane. It's insane. It's completely insane. So anyway, there's my rant. Oh, anyway, I'll see what happens when I get home later. I'll try to go live and on my other channel, the One Harvey channel, and do what I was trying to do last night. Let's see if they allow me to make that video. Anyway, till next time, God bless everybody. Peace and be well.